This week at Edison Motors, I travel out to Rich. We sit down and talk and discuss where the pickup trucks are at. Make sure you guys have an update. You guys know Rich is our vice president in charge of pickup truck development. I think we're due for an update. So we are here in Ontario and wanted to have a little discussion on the Edison pickup truck kit, where we are at, what is going on, and what is happening with it, what we've learned. So we have had that Land Cruiser sent off to a third-party testing at a testing facility right now. They're running it through its paces over the last few months. What's the updates on that? How's it going?
Really, really good. So we've had to babysit it there, which meant that we've had to go follow it, and we had to make sure that if there was stuff that broke, that we were able to fix it and also be able to show them how to run it, how to operate it. And the advantage that they said right from the start is over any other hybrid that they've tested, everybody else has just put an electric motor in front of a transfer case and kept the stock axles. And what that meant is smaller batteries and a lot of throttle mapping because of the U-joints. And those were two huge things I never wanted, was instant power, instant torque, and the batteries in the frame rail. And because of that, we were able to do the testing quicker than any of the other hybrids that they've tested, because we could do the whole test in one battery charge, even not worrying about the hybrid stuff, whereas everybody else, if they had charging issues, they'd have to have a generator on site. That facility's not...
Some of them were full EVs, so...
Right. And because of that, they said they were actually really thrilled with it, and they told us to go home.
Yeah. So, we've been waiting to hear on some more feedback, but they are basically testing a bunch of different vehicles against other vehicles. So far, you know what, now that I'm saying it, probably breaking down right as I said it, but the hybrid one has been relatively reliable. The issues we've had are been on the diesel side.
The engine side. So what they've done since we've left is put sensors over everything. They've put sensors into every cooling line, every system, just to make sure that when they do run it and run it through its paces, that nothing overheats, that there's no anomalies, that certain things aren't getting cooling more than others. And all of that research is just completely invaluable to us. We can take all of that information and apply it to the Ram.
And that's where I'd like to go into on the changes that we have learned. So doing a lot of this testing, it's going pretty well on the schedule because the truck hasn't been breaking down as much as I thought. Honestly, I thought it was going to break down a lot more.
Honestly, I didn't think we were going to get it there in the first place. What we did is they said they wanted the truck at this time, and we supplied the truck. But I told them, look, we've pulled a semi with it, and that's it. And that was just to show that the gears weren't going to fall out of the axles. And it's like, I wanted the truck for another 6 months and then give it to them. They're like, nope, just give it to us. And actually now it's worked out for the better. They're doing their testing while we can do the upgrades on this. Is actually best case scenario, because that saves all the testing that we had to do.
Let's go over some of the big differences on things we learned. The first one, obviously, gonna be in these batteries here. We've found the same thing that we are doing with the semi-trucks. As you guys know, we're changing out the batteries. We're going from 6 batteries on a truck, it's gonna be 2 batteries. They're gonna be larger batteries, so we're going a bit bigger, so it's gonna be a bigger cell, but rather than having 2 in the pickup, it's gonna be 1 in the pickup, 2 of the same battery packs on the semi-truck. So it's been driving a really, really long time off of the electric. Now, that sounds great, but it's overkill. Unless you have a specific job where you need to run a long time on electric only, you're just packing around a lot of extra weight. It's a lot of extra wires. It's a lot of extra coolant hoses. It's a lot of extra everything.
It's true, but for our audience, it's like with all the upgrades that we're doing is this thing is completely irrelevant anymore, because we're not using these axles, we're not using this battery, we're not using this motor controller, we're not using that engine. So it's what is actually left to pay attention to this vehicle?
We're not. This is one of the things though. It's we've done this with every semi-truck build.
And
by the time we had built Carl.
Can we talk about how exciting this is? And while we're doing this, while we're testing this, and we know these axles can pull 100,000 pounds, but we're already developing the dual motor, which can do even more. Pump it up, but don't say this was a mistake and this was a mistake. We've got 60 kilowatt hours in these batteries, and we're not 100% sure. We're pulling the airstream just to see, like, does the generator have to run all the time? Is it off all? Can we go with smaller batteries? Do we have to go with a bigger battery?
Well, I mean, that's the one thing is like we learned from like the semi-trucks applications that we don't need as big a battery pack. Like this is a lot of batteries.
Right.
But there's so many more things that this chassis is gonna test. Like yes, well we know we're changing out to the dual motors.
Yeah.
Like the semi-trucks, because this is like version 1.5. This was halfway between tops in the semi. So we know we're changing out dual motors. It's getting more power. We can condense the batteries because frame space is becoming a little bit limited on a pickup truck. So we know we can condense that. That's part of the design improvement. We've got better battery chemistry now that's come out into mass production since a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But there's still gonna be things like pulling that airstream across of like, hey, like this generator works for average pickup use. What happens when you're hauling a really big load with that little 2.8? Because now we're looking at, okay, maybe we go with a 3.6 liter engine.
Right.
We got that other one back there, like things that we can play around with. There's still gonna be so much valuable testing data, so much torque. It's just that we got some updates based on testing that I think are actually kind of exciting on the new version. And one of those things in there is to go into some of these chassis things. I think we're gonna build our own chassis. That's the 100%, we're doing that.
I was indifferent on that at first. I thought, you know what, because there's a lot of design that goes into the steering to make sure you don't have death wobble, make sure that your tires aren't wearing, making sure that it holds up to 500,000 kilometers with the Cummins in there and things like that, right? And I see big OEMs making mistakes on their steering, and I didn't want to be a part of that. I'm like, well, it's already tried and tested, so let's do this. This is a pile of work to be able to do this, and I realize now that it is not economical anymore to convert a chassis on a production side. Now, if you want to take your own truck and your own baby and you want to rebuild your truck, absolutely.
There's nothing stopping somebody from getting the Edison kit and doing all of this work to their own truck.
The Edison components.
The Edison components, yeah, all the components for the Edison kit and doing it themselves. Our installers that want to do it can learn how to do it and they can do the custom work, but we've got a lot of installers and people that are like, hey, I don't want to go into the level of detail that you've went into.
Right.
This is hundreds of hours of work.
Yeah.
Economically speaking, some of our installers want to just get these kits out, and we have so many people that have reserved a pickup truck kit. How do we get it out? When we were looking and you're like, oh yeah, 50, 60 people might want an Edison pickup kit. Now that there's thousands and thousands of people, this isn't economically feasible at scale.
No.
And if hitting the volumes of things, if we get the frame rails made, we can have a drop on where you have different mounts that attach to different points. So if you got different things, you had different cab mounts, different things, and we can go through our CMVS certification. So the certification that allows us to go on the semi-trucks is basically commercial vehicles over 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight, which is where these heavy like F350, F450, 550 trucks fall into. So we can certify that as an incomplete chassis, and then they can get their CMVS, FMVSS certification to complete that chassis, or use that as a repair tool if they wanted to. But ideally, yeah, they get their certification, they can drop their bodies on it, and they can finish that off. It's like what the RVers do. They get a chassis. So
here's what we're thinking is dual motor, still solid axle in the front, 4-link. I'm stuck on a 4-link.
I like 4-link.
I like 4-link for the adjustability, for the able to adjust caster, move the axle slightly back and forth where we need it to be. And then solid C-channel frame rails.
C-channel, you can clean it out. It doesn't build the rust up inside, and it's easy to bolt things to for.
So heavier, like the semi-trucks, but what's neat with the CAD and working with the engineers and our designers is they're able to take models that are already in CAD, that already exist, and overlap each other. And you'd be surprised how many cab mounts actually end up roughly in the same spot. So you'd be getting a chassis that wouldn't have the cab mounts welded to the right spot, or they would if we don't know what that looks like, but we'd be able to move the cab mounts to accommodate different body styles. And we won't be able to hit every single one of them, but we'll hit the most popular ones and the ones that we feel are the most common. right? But I'm most excited about the rear axle. We're going with a dual motor, dual setup, heavy, solid
So one
cast.
motor, we could haul 100,000 pounds, so.
Not true, we had 2 motors because it was front axle, back axle.
We'll have 4 motors.
We'll have 4 motors. 4 motors with a planetary reduction system because the electric motors spin too fast. So if you ever worked in a bulldozer or an excavator and you see the final drive, that's called a planetary gear system. Really neat system because depending which one you drive and which one you hold, it spins at a different speed and you get a different torque from the one that's not doing anything. And because of that, we can reduce the speed, increase the torque, but we're gonna put that in a big solid cast axle.
So it's gonna be a pickup truck with planetary.
Yeah, basically a mini version of the semi-truck, right? But also the suspension. You wanna talk about the suspension? Because every truck has leaf springs. We're going a little different.
No. We're going to what every other truck is, a truck. Is it in the semi-truck world? Like this leaf spring is technology that the semi-trucks have left behind in the 1960s. But pickup trucks still use this. Like this is, I get it. It's easy to manufacture. It can pack the weight, but one of the trade-offs is when you go to a heavier truck, like an F350, 450, 550, you need bigger leaf packs to hold the weight. And it means that when you're empty, it rides rough. You end up going with a lighter duty truck, like a 1500, 2500, because you want a smoother ride, but then you sacrifice payload. What semi-trucks do is like the New Wave suspension or the Primax, you got a trailing arm that comes down, and then on the rear, back here, you have an airbag. Now, the airbag has a leveling valve, and with this, when you load your truck, if you ever see a car or a pickup that's heavily loaded, you'll notice it squats down at the rear because you're compressing this. On a semi-truck, what happens is that the airbag levels itself out through the leveling valve, and it maintains the ride height by increasing the pressure in that airbag. So as you load it, the bag increases in pressure, but it means when you're empty, it stays there. It just requires less air, less PSI to hold it up, which means that when you're empty, the axle floats freer, and then when supporting the load, it's stiffer. So it gives you a similar ride quality, empty or loaded. It's smooth. You get the advantage of the heavy payload, but you're not sacrificing the ride quality. And yes, it is more money, but it gives you so much. It gives you the capabilities of a higher truck with a lower one. So that's the one I'm big caught up on.
Yeah, so the big advantage of that is that the trailing arm can go underneath the frame rather than the springs being beside the frame. And now we can move the frames wider and we can put more components on the inside.
I'm still not sold on that one though.
No?
No, because every truck, at least on the back end here, you always have a 34-inch frame rail on the heavier ones because the guys that make the flat decks, the dump boxes, camper bodies, are all designed for that 34-inch frame rail. So if you make it wider, but you can fit more components.
You can fit more. So definitely comment down below what that looks like if you are a coach builder or you're putting these bodies on. How difficult is it to just have a longer C at the back so that you can still bolt into your 34 is like just a longer C, right? And does that make sense? I don't know, something like that.
Go wider in the middle and then bring them back, but then that adds a little bit of extra manufacturing.
Keep the frame wider, but then you can still have brackets between the two where your box sits on, because I understand maybe 34 to the inch, something to think about. I gotta look into that, but definitely comment whether a wider frame at the back is detrimental to the systems that you guys are putting on, because yeah, we're building trucks, but we're not the ones installing bucket trucks and dump trucks and flatbeds and whatever else, right?
Wrecker bodies.
Yeah.
That's the different thing, is it's like, I talk with a lot of people that they want it for a wrecker. The hybrid makes sense, you can charge electric vehicles. There's a lot of advantages there. So,
yeah.
But I don't also see it for the pickup and the personal side of things.
Right.
You get a lot more fans that are, I want a cool truck.
Yeah.
Like, we're looking at two different things.
Yeah.
It's been a big debate. But we're also gonna get more space. I know we want more frame rail space, but if we go to a single battery that's in here,
that's true.
We are freeing up more space here.
That's true. I'm thinking about running like the cooling lines and the electrical wires and stuff beside it, because this gives us the better option to keep the high voltage away from the communication wires, especially the the CAN bus, so there's no interference. So we've got all of that nice and neat, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the other advantage on our own chassis, though, is like right now we're working around Dodge's chassis, and we're running everything around there. With our own chassis, we'll have our own cross members, our own cradles, our own everything to hold the wires, and a nice, neat, easy to run. So we're gonna free up a lot of space by not having to dip and weave and go around things that weren't designed for an electric vehicle.
So if you guys are wondering, you know, where's the Ram at? Well, you're probably wondering why I'm sitting on a chair in my pajama pants as well, keeping my leg up. And that's because I'm getting a new ankle. So they just broke my heel and readjusted my heel. That's healing, and then I'm getting another ankle. So I
broke the heel. He didn't mean we broke his heel. I mean the doctors to fix an issue. We didn't break it because he was delayed on the project.
Oh no, there's no threatening. We're getting along good. But the idea is the wiring harness is being made right now. Everything is 3D scanned. The parts are where they're going to be. And while that wiring harness is being made, we're taking what we learned from the Land Cruiser and this build so far and putting it into our own chassis and starting that design and getting feedback and parts made for that. So when this is ready, the incomplete chassis will be shortly behind that, and hopefully we can still get that out this year. Things are overlapping, but because I'm not as mobile as I used to be last week, we're just shifting priorities a little bit.
That's right. So in conclusion, to sum up all the development that we got going on here, the Land Cruiser is undergoing testing at a third-party testing facility in Nevada as we get all of that homogenization information, performance information. We've gotten a lot already that we're now using in our design changes happening in the next one. This one is being built and worked on right now. It'll be going through some of the testing in Canada, doing some driving, and really just performance testing some more that we can keep for ourselves. In addition to that, we have learned through doing some of the economics of it, we'll be building our own chassis. With the amount of demand we have seen for the pickup kits, that's the best way we can do it. So Rich, while laid up, is now working on chassis design on Gen 2, concurrently while we're waiting for wiring harnesses and that to arrive for this. So everything is going actually all right on the pickup side of things. I'm happy with the performance. The Land Cruiser has been doing great. I wish we could show you more clips of that, but it is at a secure testing facility that does not allow filming because a lot of different manufacturers are all testing their new projects there. So that's
You should see the sweet new Lamborghinis and Audis. Oh.
I was more concerned about that flying one that they had. Like, I didn't think a car could actually fly like that.
Yep.
The anti-grav technology is
anti-grav
wild now.
technology is going a long way, yeah.
So yeah, the pickup kits are going pretty well. We got new developments, we've got new updates, and we're getting closer and closer to having a commercialized product this year. So
yeah.
Thanks for staying tuned. Thanks for your patience on it. If you want to learn more, make sure you are checking out Deboss Garage and everything they are doing on that channel. Make sure you're supporting them. It's been awesome.
Here we go.